Have you ever felt this invisible weight on your heart? This feeling that something is wrong, that you are stuck in a situation that is draining you of your energy? This is no coincidence. It's not just temporary stress or anxiety. It's a message. A message from Allah. He sends you signs, clear signals that tell you that it is time to leave, to turn the page. Today we will discover together the 5 most powerful signs that Allah sends to you to warn you that it is time to move away, immediately. 1. A persistent worry, the discomfort that doesn't go away. There are times when the heart refuses to calm down, when the mind is tormented for no apparent reason. You look for rational explanations. You tell yourself that it's just stress, fatigue. But deep down you know that it's something else. It is a call, a message from Allah. Allah often communicates through the heart. When a believer feels deep and persistent discomfort, it is not just a passing emotion, it is a divine alert. It's as if your soul knows that something is out of place, that your heart is in an environment that prevents it from finding peace. Imagine a rose planted in infertile soil. No matter how much care you take, it will never be able to flower fully. Your soul is this rose. If it is surrounded by negativity, falsehood, or situations that deprive it of light, it fades. This persistent discomfort is a clear sign that Allah wants to keep you away from this environment. The language of the heart. When Allah speaks to you without words. Allah does not always use miracles to guide us. Sometimes He uses discomfort, this worry that does not disappear even after sincere prayers. For what? Because He wants you to understand that it is time to change, to move away from what harms your serenity. When your heart is restless despite your efforts to find peace, it is a divine signal. This means that the place, person, or situation you find yourself in is not aligned with what Allah wants for you. Never underestimate this feeling. Allah knows what you do not know. What you perceive as an opportunity could be a challenge in disguise. What you consider a blessing could be a trap for your soul. This is why it takes away your inner peace to alert you, to wake you up before it is too late. A call to let go. Don't cling to poison. It is natural to cling to what is familiar. Sometimes you stay in an uncomfortable situation simply because it is known to you. But Allah wants you to let go, that you do not cling to what poisons your heart. Imagine holding a burning coal. The more you hold on, the more you burn. This persistent discomfort is divine fire who asks you to let go of this coal before it consumes you. Don't let fear of the unknown hold you back. Allah does not ask you to leave without reason. It prepares you to receive something much better. There is divine wisdom behind every worry. It is a mercy in disguise, protection against what could destroy your inner peace. Don't wait until you're broken to get the message. The power of introspection. Listen to your soul. Allah speaks to you through your soul. If you feel a constant weight, if your mind is restless despite your efforts to calm it, it is an invitation to introspection. Ask yourself this question. What is stopping me from feeling the peace that Allah reserves for His believers? Don't look for external solutions to internal discomfort. It's not a change of scenery that will soothe your heart, but a change of direction. Allah wants you to turn away of what harms your peace. It is not an act of weakness to leave. It's an act of faith. It is believing that Allah has prepared a place where your soul can finally breathe, where your heart will find the peace it desperately seeks. Don't ignore the divine alert. This persistent unease is not there by chance. It's a divine call, a spiritual alarm to wake you up before it's too late. The more you ignore this feeling, the more the discomfort will grow, until you are broken by the environment that consumes you. Allah does not want to see you suffer needlessly. This is why He sends you these signals, to urge you to leave before the evil intensifies. Listen to your heart, because it is through Him that Allah guides you. Don't stay trapped in a situation that steals your inner peace. Allah has provided a place where your heart can finally rest in His light. Have faith and take the first step. 2. Repeated obstacles. When doors close. Again and again. Have you ever felt this overwhelming frustration? You do everything in your power, you pray, you work hard, you persevere, but despite your best efforts, nothing works. Every path seems blocked, Every opportunity escapes you. It's like the entire universe is conspiring against you. But what to do when all else fails? Give up? Forcing destiny? It's not a failure. It is divine protection. It is Allah who protects you from the invisible. He knows what you do not know. He sees what you cannot see. When the doors close again and again, it is a powerful sign that Allah is diverting you from a hidden evil. The wisdom. Hidden in obstacles. Divine protection. Imagine this. You walk in one direction convinced that it is the path to your happiness. You move forward with hope, with ambition, but suddenly a door suddenly closes in front of you. You try to force it, you hit, you cry, you beg, but it remains closed. For what? Because Allah knows that behind this door lies a precipice. He loves you too much to let you down. He places these barriers not to punish you, but to protect you. It's like a loving parent keeping their child away from danger, even if the child doesn't understand why. Every failure is a mercy in disguise. You don't know how many misfortunes you have been spared thanks to these closed doors. Maybe they kept you from losing your faith, your health, or even your dignity. What you considered a disappointment was actually a divine rescue. Do not force what Allah has closed. An act of faith. In our impatience, we often try to force the doors closed. We believe we know what is good for us, but Allah is most wise. When He closes a door, it's an answer to your prayers. Perhaps you have asked Him for success, for love, for happiness. And He knows that behind this door hides the exact opposite. Imagine desperately knocking on a door behind which there are thorns. You pray for it to open, you beg. But Allah knows that if this door opens, you will bleed. Do not force what Allah has closed. Don't ask to be broken. It is not an act of weakness to let go. It's an act of faith. It is accepting that Allah knows best. It is believing that what is in front of you is infinitely better than what you leave behind. Divine redirection. When disappointments are blessings. When you realize that failures are actually divine redirections, you begin to see your disappointments in a new light. What you considered a rejection was actually a blessing. Allah keeps you away from what would turn you away from Him. Perhaps this opportunity would have led you to arrogance, neglect of your faith, or ingratitude. Allah closes the doors not to break you, but to protect you from yourself. Imagine being in a maze. You follow a path convinced that it leads to the exit, but you come across a wall. You feel blocked, lost, frustrated. But this wall is not there to imprison you. It is there to guide you towards the exit. Allah uses failures as signposts to redirect you towards your destiny. Every closed door is a promise that something better awaits you elsewhere. But to see this promise come true, you must trust in God's plan. You have to accept that what you wanted might not be what you needed. Letting go and trusting, the secret of inner peace. One of the most powerful lessons Allah teaches us through obstacles is letting go. When you force the doors closed, you're fighting against destiny, against the divine plan. This struggle is the source of your pain. Imagine a bird trapped in a golden cage. The door is closed, and he flaps his wings frantically, believing that the more he pushes, the freer he will be. But in reality, the more he struggles, the more he gets hurt. Only when he stops struggling does he begin to heal. He accepts the cage, and it is then that Allah opens another door, towards a much greater freedom. Don't fight against fate. Accept it with faith. Let go and trust in Allah, for what He has planned for you is infinitely better than what you desperately cling to. Those that are closed will only break you. Do not insist on entering where your soul will be a prisoner. Let go and let Allah guide you to the place where your heart will finally find peace. The hope behind every failure. A divine promise. Every time a door closes, it is a divine promise that something better awaits you. But this promise only comes true if you agree to let go of what was not meant for you. Don't confuse failure with rejection. What you see as failure is actually a sign that this path was not yours. Allah wants to direct you to another path, a path where you will not only find success, but also peace, faith, and satisfaction of the soul. If you continue to insist where Allah said no, you deprive yourself of the blessing that awaits you elsewhere. Turn the page and move forward. Every closed door is a bridge to a much greater destiny. Trust in Allah and let Him guide you. You will then realize that what you thought was a disappointment was actually a miracle in disguise. 3. A weakening of your faith. When your soul strays away from Allah. There was a time when your heart vibrated with every prayer. The sweetness of the memory of Allah filled your soul with incomparable peace. You found comfort in each prostration. Your tears flowed as you felt the divine closeness. But now, something has changed. You pray, but your heart is absent. You read, but the words seem empty. Where did that spiritual connection that nourished your soul go? This is no coincidence. This is not a simple drop in motivation. This is a divine warning. Allah shows you that your environment separates you from Him. Your friends, your habits, or even where you live can be the cause of this spiritual weakening. It's a sign that it's time to leave. When the light goes out, the danger of spiritual distance. Imagine a candle flickering in a constant wind. No matter its initial flame, no matter how strong it is, if it is continually exposed to a destructive wind, it will eventually go out. Your faith is that flame. If you stay in an environment that blows out your spiritual light, sooner or later it will go out. You will begin to feel an inexplicable heaviness. Acts of worship will become soulless routines. You will lose the taste for prayer, the Qur'an will seem distant, and the memory of Allah will become a burden. This is the danger of spiritual distance. Allah shows you through this inner emptiness that your soul is becoming detached from His light. Don't ignore this feeling of emptiness. It's not just fatigue, it's a cry from your soul who asks to be saved before it is too late. Hidden influences. When the environment devours faith, sometimes the poison is subtle. It's not always the big sins that weaken your faith. These are the small, repetitive influences. It is the empty conversations that turn your heart away from the remembrance of Allah, the associations that take you away from prayer, the habits that take the place of worship. Imagine a container filled with pure water. If just one drop of poison is added to it every day, the water will eventually become completely contaminated. Your heart is that container. If you allow negative influences to creep in day after day, your faith will slowly be poisoned. This is why Allah warns you with this spiritual weakening. He wants you to recognize the subtle poisons around you. This is not a test of weakness, but a call for vigilance. Take a step back. Reassess your environment. If your relationships keep you away from prayer, cut these ties. If your habits turn you away from the Qur'an, change them. Don't let anything or anyone steal your connection with Allah. It is your most precious treasure. The choice of comfort or faith. A divine test. Allah is testing you. He wants to see if you choose your comfort or your faith. Sometimes the source of your spiritual weakening comes from a relationship you care about, a place where you feel comfortable, or a habit that temporarily calms your mind. But at what cost? If this takes you away from Allah, it costs you your eternity. Imagine being tied to a sinking ship. You know it's going to sink, you see the water rising, but you hold on for fear of the unknown. This is exactly what happens when you stay in an environment that destroys your faith. You are flowing spiritually. Allah calls you to let go. He wants you to leave this temporary comfort for eternal peace that He has prepared for you. Don't hold on to what destroys you spiritually out of fear of the unknown. Trust in Allah. When you leave behind what separates you from Him, He fills your life with His light. The return to the light. Save your soul. If you feel this spiritual weakening, don't ignore it. It is a divine alarm to remind you that your soul craves His nearness. Answer this call. Leave what separates you from Allah. Imagine a thirsty plant. No matter how rich the soil is, if it is far from the water source, it will eventually wither. Your soul is this plant. If it is not nourished by the remembrance of Allah, it will wither away. Do not allow your faith to fade. Leave behind the influences that dry up your heart. Go back to the source. Return to Allah. He calls you to leave what is preventing you from feeling Him. Answer that call before it's too late. An empty heart. A heart in danger. A heart that no longer finds sweetness in prayer, it is a heart in danger. A heart that no longer feels the divine presence, it is a heart in distress. Never accept this spiritual distance as a simple phase. It's an alert. Your heart is your compass. When filled with divine light, it guides you to eternal happiness. But when it is invaded by darkness, it leads you to destruction. Don't let anything or anyone turn off this light. Leave what steals your spiritual peace. Cut the ties that weaken your faith. Don't be afraid to leave even if it means being alone. Allah will never abandon you. He will fill you with His presence. Don't become trapped in an environment that robs you of your divine connection. Your faith is your most precious treasure. Protect her at all costs. 4. Emotional fatigue that drains you of your energy. Have you ever felt this overwhelming heaviness? That feeling of emptiness, like every day is a burden, like you're walking through an endless tunnel with no light at the end? It's not just fatigue. It's not just stress or a drop in motivation. It's a sign. It is the alert of your soul who cries for help, who begs you to get out of this situation that is consuming her. This emotional fatigue, this feeling of inner emptiness, it is Allah who shows you that you are not in your place. It's a divine signal that this job, this relationship, or even this environment is destroying you from the inside. Don't ignore this exhaustion. It's time to leave. When the soul fades, the silent cry of your heart. Imagine a flower deprived of light. It does not die immediately, but day after day it withers, its petals lose their shine, its roots weaken. Your soul is this flower. When you stay in an environment that drains you emotionally, your heart slowly fades. It's not a question of strength of character. No matter how determined you are, if your soul is in a toxic place, it will never be able to flourish. You force yourself to smile, to continue, to endure. But at what cost? You lose your energy, your joy, and even your spiritual connection. Allah does not want this for you. He doesn't want you to remain trapped in a place that destroys your essence. It shows you through this emotional fatigue that you deserve better, that you have the right to walk away from what breaks you. Never accept living in a place where your soul cannot breathe. Allah has provided for you a place where you can finally find peace, where your heart can flourish under His light. Signs of a toxic environment. When the heart suffocates. How do you know if you are in a place that is destroying you? When every day is a struggle, when you feel exhausted even after sleeping, when nothing seems to make sense anymore. This is not normal. Allah did not create you to suffer for no reason. If your heart is heavy, if your mind is exhausted despite your efforts to stay positive, it's a sign that you don't belong. Imagine a bird in a cage. No matter how beautiful the cage, he will never be able to fly freely. No matter what golden seeds we give him, he will always feel this lack of freedom. In the same way, your soul feels this spiritual cage when she is in an environment that stifles her faith and inner peace. Don't stay trapped in this cage. No matter how comfortable it seems, it robs you of your spiritual freedom. Allah wants you to fly freely, to breathe fully. Free yourself from what oppresses you. The invisible weight. When emotional fatigue devours the soul. This emotional fatigue is an invisible weight that pulls you down. It steals your motivation, your passion, and even your ability to pray sincerely. It is a spiritual burden which keeps you away from the light of Allah. Don't take this fatigue lightly. This is not a simple drop in morale. It is a divine alert. Allah shows you through this heaviness that you are holding on to a place that is destroying you. He wants you to break away of what exhausts your soul. Imagine carrying a bag full of stones. Every day it gets heavier. Every step is more difficult. But you force yourself to move forward. For what? Because you are afraid to put it down, afraid of losing what you have spent so much time building. But what's the point of moving forward if it breaks you at every step? Allah does not want you to destroy yourself. He wants you to lay down this burden, to let go of what is stealing your energy and your inner peace. Trust His wisdom. As you lay down this weight, you will free your heart to receive the blessings He has prepared for you. The lie of comfort. When the known becomes a prison. Sometimes comfort is deceptive. You stay in this situation not because it makes you happy, but because it is familiar to you. You cling to the habit even if it destroys you. But at what cost? You sacrifice your inner peace. You lose your motivation, and your soul becomes exhausted day after day. It's not comfort, it's a prison. Allah wants to free you from this emotional prison. This is why He sends you this constant fatigue, this weariness that does not disappear. He wants you to understand that this is not your place. Imagine being chained to a wall. You are so used to these chains that you have forgotten the feeling of freedom. But Allah wants you to break these chains. He calls you out of this emotional prison to discover the happiness He has planned for you. Don't let the fear of the unknown imprison you. Leave, even if it means facing uncertainty. Trust in Allah. Where He guides you, you will finally find peace. The path to liberation. Answer the divine call. This emotional fatigue is a call for liberation. Allah does not want you to stay in a place that exhausts your soul. He calls you to leave to find a place where your heart can breathe freely. Do not ignore this call. Don't settle for a life where your energy is drained, where your motivation is broken. Allah created you to grow, to flourish, not to survive in an environment that destroys your essence. Respond to this divine call. Leave what is stealing your peace. Allah will guide you to a place where your soul can finally flourish, where your heart will find the light it lost. Trust His wisdom. Wherever He leads you, you will not only find rest, but also peace, strength, and serenity. 5. The signs repeat over and over. Have you ever felt like you were reliving the same scenario? You face the same problems, the same disappointments, the same failures, over and over again. No matter how hard you try to change things, the same pains return. This is not a coincidence. It's not just bad luck. This is a message from Allah. Allah speaks to you through these repetitions. He uses these recurring situations to attract your attention, to wake you up from the illusion in which you are trapped. He wants you to understand that you are on the wrong path. But the more you ignore these signs, the more insistent they become, the more the pain grows. The pain cycle, when the lesson is not learned. Imagine walking in a circle over and over again, never moving forward. You always end up at the same point. You always relive the same suffering. This is what happens when you ignore the signs of Allah. It tests you through repetition. If you don't understand the lesson, the situation will return, even more painful. It's like a student refusing to learn an important lesson. He will have to repeat it over and over again until he understands. Allah does not want you to suffer needlessly, but as long as you persist in ignoring His warnings, the pain will keep coming back. Every disappointment, every failure, every betrayal is a divine reminder that you are on the wrong path. Don't get trapped in this cycle of pain. Get the message. Allah wants you to leave what destroys you, that you abandon what separates you from His light. Multiple signs. When Allah uses all means to reach you, Allah uses all means to send you signs. Advice from friends, painful situations that repeat themselves, words you overhear. These are not coincidences. Imagine receiving warning letters. You receive one, then another, but you ignore them, you act as if nothing happened. What will the sender do? He will increase the urgency of his messages. He will use other means to reach you. This is exactly what Allah does. When you ignore one sign, He sends you another, even stronger one. You come across the same verses that seem to speak to you. You hear the same advice from different people. You experience the same trials over and over again. This is no coincidence. It is Allah who speaks to you. He wants you to understand before it is too late. Don't let your blindness lead you to destruction. Open your eyes to these recurring signs. The danger of ignorance. When the lesson gets more painful. Ignoring the signs of Allah is dangerous. The more you ignore them, the more the consequences become serious. It's like ignoring pain in the body. At first it's light, almost insignificant. But the more you neglect it, the worse it gets until the illness becomes unbearable. This is what happens when you ignore God's warnings. Each ignored sign makes the lesson heavier. Each disregarded warning makes the ordeal more painful. Allah loves you too much to let you deviate without consequences. It tests you through repetition so that you finally understand the need to leave. Don't let your stubbornness break you. Do not force what Allah forbids you. Do not stay where His light no longer reaches you. He wants to protect you. It shows you the exit. But if you persist in remaining in this suffering, the lesson will become harder, more overwhelming. The mercy hidden in repetition. A final reminder. Before the fall. Allah never tires of warning you. Even if you fall into the same trap over and over again, He continues to send you signs. It is His mercy. It's His way of giving you a chance to change before it's too late. Imagine a parent who sees their child walking towards danger. He calls, he shouts, he reaches out. If the child refuses to listen, the parent will not give up. He will try again and again until the child understands. This is how Allah calls you to leave what harms you. Do not despise His mercy. Don't think that recurring signs are unimportant. They are a final reminder before the fall. It is Allah who reaches out to you before the pain becomes unbearable. Do not reject this outstretched hand. Take this opportunity to leave before the ordeal breaks you. Allah wants to save you. Listen to the signs before it's too late. When pain becomes unbearable. The ultimate signal. If you continue to ignore the signs, the pain will become unbearable. The trials will become overwhelming. This is not a punishment. It is a divine ultimatum. Allah wants you to understand. If you don't listen to the subtle signs, He will use pain to break your attachment to what is destroying you. It is a harsh mercy but necessary to save you from yourself. Don't let this pain reach its peak. Don't wait for the test to destroy you to understand the message. Respond to the signs before the lesson becomes unbearable. Allah speaks to you through repetitions. Don't be blind to the signs that repeat themselves over and over again. It is His way of guiding you to a better path. Listen, understand, and leave. Where He leads you, you will find peace, light, and divine protection. Allah does not want you to remain trapped in a situation that harms you. He calls you to a better future. If you feel constant discomfort, if everything fails, if your faith is weakening, if you are emotionally exhausted, and if the signs repeat themselves, it's time to leave. Don't fear the unknown. Instead, fear staying in a place where your soul suffers. Trust in Allah. Make the decision to leave, and watch how He will open the doors to a better life for you. Allah protects you, even when you don't understand why certain things happen. Have faith and move forward.